The whole issue about what we charge, how we go about charging and the commission that we charge and all that stuff, really gets taken out of context because, if you were to just compete on only what you charged, which is what a lot of agents do. I mean, the sellers ask the question, but let's say that you charge a higher commission than everyone else in your marketplace, a higher commission. I know that your first thought would be, well, I couldn't do that because I would never get any business. That's because you're probably competing on what you charge. I mean, if you look at this in front of you, there's 4 choices. I could either pay one company 6%, another one 6%, another one, 3%, or a 7%. I mean, any homeowner is going to pick the lowest number. Why? Well, because it's how they're programmed, pay the lowest price. It's what we do. And that doesn't make them wrong. But, if you're going to compete on what you charge the way other agents do, then you're probably not going to be able to charge a higher commission. But what was it that I told you the sellers care about and only care about? They only care about what they end up with. They don't care about what you end up with. I know you think they do, but they really don't. Remember, I asked, if you focus on what they care about the most, which is either they care about how much you end up with or how much they end up with, when they say something to you like, how much do you charge? What they're not asking how much do you charge. What they're really asking is, if you're going to get that much, I'm going to get the leftover, so therefore the less you charge, the more I get to keep. You see? That's really what they're saying. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. The next time someone asks you how much do you charge, try this just for giggles. Tell them that you've got a special going this week only and you charge nothing this week. And what you're going to find is even though you said nothing, it isn't going to get you any additional business. I know 2 of you just passed out and said, I can't do that because I can't charge nothing. I didn't say you had to charge nothing. I said, tell them you charge nothing. I did this experiment with one of my workshops once, and I said, the next time someone asks you how much do you charge, I want you to just say it like this, but I don't want you to tell a lie. I want you to tell them that in most cases you charge nothing. And I had students gasping. They're like, what do you mean? I can't say that. I said, oh, really? Because it's a lie? They said, well, no, we charge like 6%. I said, you really to drive over to their house? And I remember the student telling him, no, we don't charge anything to drive over there. Really? What do you charge when you don't get the listing? We don't charge anything for that either. Huh. So do you get the listing most of the time? Yeah, I get it a lot of the time. So, but you say you get it a lot of the time, but how much do you make on the ones you don't list? Nothing. Huh. Well, do you go on most of the appointments in the whole board, the association? Do you go on all this? Because I'm looking at you thinking you don't have all the listings in the whole association, do you? No. Do you have most of the listings? No. You don't have most of the listings. So most of the time you don't charge anything, do you? And it's like after the head scratch and the bump against the wall, they say, oh, now I get it. My point is this. We're focused on the wrong thing. If you want to compete on what they charge, you're going to lose. Instead, rewrite the rules. Here you go. Ready for this? Compete on how much they keep. Don't compete on how much you charge. Compete on how much they keep. Because, as I've said it before, it's not about how much you charge. It's about how much they'll end up with. Isn't it? I mean, really, that it is the truth. And to do that, I mean, to really understand this and to really walk through that, I mean, there's things that you can do, and I'll kind of give you a real rough, a quick look at this. I don't want to get stuck on it, but I want to take you and just let you look at this one slide for a minute, because I want you to understand what the difference is between what you charge and what you cost. I just want you to have that. I know there's a big red arrow in the middle of it. I did that so you can't copy it. But look at these columns. I've got 4 brokers, right here. I got one of the national brokers, then I got another one, and I got this company that, they charge less, and then there's me. And you say, but how can you make that really become equitable in any way, any fashion whatsoever? Well, it's not really as hard as you think, because as you look down this column here, and you see that there are, that company charges this and that company charges that. But what the seller keeps is really a formula. And the formula goes as follows. And I want to make this simple because we don't have all day long. Now, I have this explained in much greater detail in the audio tutorials. And so, if you think I'm going through it too fast, that's fine. Come back, listen to this again, or make sure that you take advantage of the expired listing toolkit. But what the seller keeps is really what you should be competing on. okay, because that's all they care about, what they keep. And the best way to do this comparison is to understand that if this over here on the right-hand side, if hiring me, you end up with 91.5%, but hiring someone else, you get less, you end up with less. Even though I charge a higher fee, it's really not about me, it's about you. Now, if they say, but will you charge a lower fee? Well, no, because that would make me like them. I mean, this is such an ironclad logic stream that for someone to say, I want you to charge a lower commission, well, the only reason I would do that, well, I wouldn't. I mean, I really wouldn't do it, but would you have me do it if you knew you'd end up with less money in your pocket if I lowered my commission? Because really, that's what happens. Because look at the guy that charges the lowest amount of commission in here. I know you can't see it behind the black line, but typically what happens is when you look at who charges the least, they usually have the worst performance. Now, I'm not saying that as a slam on any. If you're charging a low commission, that's how you do business. But if you could do the same amount of business and charge a higher commission like Sue did and not work any harder, what you're going to find is you can do that. People are more concerned about the end result, but in order to get to the end result of hiring you, they have to some degree, feel comfortable that it's a smart decision. And the only way you can make them feel it's a smart decision is to give some facts and figures. And in this case, the facts and figure take into consideration one variable, and that variable brings information from the MLS where I figure out each of my competitors what their performance ratio is. In other words, for the last 1,000 listings that ABC Brokerage took, they sold at 96% of list price, which means, logically, the next listing they take is going to price sell at 96% of list price. It's not a guarantee. It's just the numbers. If they charge a 6% commission, then that means I'll end up with 90% as the homeowner if I hire them. Likewise, if you go all the way down to my last row there, I have a better batting average if they hire me. My average performance is 98.5% of list price. That means that I really only take listings that sell, and they normally sell pretty close to what I list them at. Why? Because I'm good. You see, this is where I have a subjective opinion. I could do it any way I want to do it, but the end result is this. When you hire me, you get to keep more money. That's that. Why would we have to have a discussion much further than that? Well, we wouldn't, because it's not about how much you charge, it's about how much they end up with. And I understand that, you might hear this and say, well, it sounds good, but let me recap it. I'm going to kind of wrap it up. I'm going to take questions. I'm going to go through those. I'm going to spend a minute on the toolkit. But look at this, what I went through with you in the last 50 minutes. I said that the process is simple. You just gotta talk to them. I mean, if you're not talking to expireds, you're probably not getting any listings. If you spend 4 hours a week doing those things, calling them, mailing stuff, and visiting them, you're going to find that you'll have as many appointments as you can, or at least you'll be talking to a lot of people. Then you've got to be able to give them a reason to meet with you. You could always just meet with them because they want to know about your marketing plan, but my really successful students get excellent at this, and that is using the Columbo strategy. So how'd you score on the marketability scorecard? Maybe that's what you're missing. Maybe I can come over and do one of those. If you go on 2 appointments every week, there's 4 more hours chewed up. That gives you time to prepare, plan, get there, and leave. And, of course, you still got to get hired. And if you do get hired, it's probably because you're focusing on what they care about the most, which is how much they end up with, not how much you end up with. It doesn't really matter how much you end up with. As I used to say to them, what difference does it make what I charge? I mean, if I charged $1 million, but you ended up with more money by hiring me, would it really matter? Because it wouldn't, would it? It really wouldn't matter, unless they don't want to answer the question, because logically it makes sense. And paperwork and follow-up is going to take another 2 hours a week. All told, it's 10 hours a week, and for those 10 hours a week, you should be able to do a deal a week, which is going to put $3,000 or whatever your local area puts in. There you go. Now, if you want to ask a question, I'm going to be describing the expired listing toolkit real quick. Hang on to the end because I'm going to give you a super duper reason I'm going to give you a reason not to forget to do this because you really want to do this. Some of you have been customers of mine for a very, very long time. Whether you have the expired listing toolkit or not, there are new things added to it. So if you've already got it, you'll get those things. But if you don't know if you've got it, go ahead and order it. And if I find out that you've doubled up, I will refund you back. So I get that question a lot. I don't know if I ordered it or not before. I'll look and I'll find out. And if you did, I'm not going to take your money twice. But here's what's in the toolkit. First of all, you're going to get the sequential expired marketing letters. That's a group of letters. Right now it's sitting at 5 sequential letters, and we've got a couple more of them being written. And, of course, there's also a recorded tutorial by me, and that recorded tutorial tells you how to go through, use the letters, and how to put the list in Excel and merge that. It's pretty cool. So you're going to want that. In addition to that, there is the yellow drop-off. It's the template, it's the words, the how to do it, and, of course, a recorded audio tutorial by me. There's also something I didn't bring up during the session tonight, the audio report template. Some of you have had good success with this. It's where you record an audio CD. You get the recording, the rights to duplicate it, or you can record your own. I give you the script. That, of course, comes with a recorded tutorial by me. The Marketability Scorecard. The Marketability Scorecard is a digital file. All these are digital files. And the Marketability Scorecard has more than just the tutorial on how to use it, but how to present it, also how to assemble it. But the most important tutorial there is how do you actually use it as a way of getting them to want to meet with you. And when you do meet with them, I have a full video tutorial on, how do you present the information in a way that it makes sense. And then finally, there's the broker cost comparison worksheet. This is the one that you should donate extra money to me just because it's so cool, like Sue did. I mean, Sue paid right at $300. That was before I had the individual items in a toolkit, and so in her case, she probably paid what you earn in an hour and gotten $60-some thousand extra money because of it. And that's a good return, $300 for $62,000. And you're going to get not only the tool itself, but how to use it, how to put it together, audio tutorial by, you might get tired of this. Plus, you're going to get my dialogues, my scripts. I call them cheat sheets. You get update forever. And you're going to get a year's worth of pesky reminders from me. It's somewhat automated, but it's still me. And you're going to get a year of those. I'm not going to tell you that they come every 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, or 6 days, but you're going to get a bunch of them. And really, they're just to keep you moving forward. I mean, those reminders alone are probably worth a few $100. Speaking of money, how much is it? Well, normally $297, and if I discount it down by $150, that makes the cost $147, which is what most people, when they take advantage of it during the teleclass, that's what they get it at. But how do you go about getting it? Well, it's all digital, but you go to www.expired listing toolkit. So go to Expired Listing Toolkit. You'll get an email. It'll actually take you to the download site, and don't worry if you lose the link. Don't panic. You'll get another email with the link again. So if you get that tonight and you lose the link because something happened, don't worry. You're going to be okay. You're going to get another link and another link and another link. That's part of the whole year of pestering you, because I want to make sure you use it. And if you buy it and you don't like it, you can return it, and I'll give you back your money. I do really want to make sure that this question is answered. I hope that you'll take advantage of the Expired Listing Toolkit. I hope you enjoyed being here. I did. I talked really, really fast, and yet I'm going to leave my contact information up here. More importantly, if you have already bought this, or you don't know if you bought it and you double it up, go ahead and do it again. Buy it again. Here's what I'm going to do. If you do have questions, I will answer those. I'm also going to make those into a separate recording. What I'd recommend is listen to the 5th recording